And welcome back to coverage of GP Anaheim. My name is Marshall Sutcliffe. I am in the booth with Nate Price.
Well, hello, everyone.
And we are in the semifinals here. We're going to see kind of a polar opposites match. We're going to be seeing Boros, piloted by really the best Boros pilot on the planet, Paul Rietzl. He's on the right-hand side of your screen here, up against Eric Froelich, which is really, he's piloting a deck that is the complete other side of the spectrum, which is the blue-white-red Miracles deck, which is really the slowest deck in the room, probably.
Yeah, I think about the only deck that we could possibly see that would be slower is any of the black control decks.
Yep.
Like again, it just comes down to they're the control decks in the format. They're the only ones that exist, and his is clearly the pinnacle of that, as he's used it and successfully navigated his way all the way through to the top 8 here.
So we've got a classic aggro versus control matchup. In some ways, this control deck's a little different than maybe some of them that you've seen before. But yeah, so let's see if we have keeps or mulligans here. It looks like Eric's tanking a little bit, although which means that Paul's kept.
Yeah.
Which is something that we haven't seen Paul do much this weekend. He has very aggressively mulliganed his plays. His deck relies on a certain sequence of cards to be the most effective, although he has proven that he... Okay, so we do not see a one-drop out of Rietzl here. That's kind of a big deal.
Froelich's hand looks very good from the start. Like, I just caught a glimpse, but I saw 3 lands, all the mana that he needs, like all the colors mana he needs, and a feeling of dread.
Okay, do you know what... Okay, so we see a Cloistered Youth right off the bat, so this is going to be able to transform before Froelich has the ability to Rolling Tumbler.
Correct.
Now, I asked Luis what he thought the nut draw was for this Miracles deck, and he said 6 lands and a Think Twice. Now, he was, half joking, but really this deck needs lands. If he only has 3 lands in his opener, that's actually not good for Eric.
It's a very, very good point.
Yeah. Now, if he has a feeling of dread, that is going to go a long way to helping him get to that point. And we see a Silverblade Paladin right away, and it's going to pair up with this. The what is it called, actually? I can't remember now.
The Unholy Fiend?
Unholy Fiend, good one.
Yeah.
Jeez, I should know that. Anyway, with the Unholy Fiending, he's going to be representing 6 points of damage if he is allowed to go to his attack step.
Count on you. Soul Bomb attack. You already attacked. What? You already attacked.
There's definitely a conversation going on.
All right, so I think he was just slow rolling him.
Yeah.
These guys are friends as well, so there's going to be some kind of playful banter here. And on end step, Rietzl's going to take 1 and go to 19 passing.
And in the lead.
You can be certain that that feeling of dread in his opening hand was what gave him pause from just simply shipping back to 3 land.
Truth.
It's very important in this matchup to stave off that early points of damage. I mean, he's got a Terminus in his hand. Not exactly where he wants to see it, but...
That he can build up the mana to. I see like 3 lands in his hands right now. I mean, he's got planes. I think he has 2 Sulfur Falls. Things are looking pretty good for Eric. Again, there's the Think Twice in there too? Okay.
Yeah.
And, so one of the things that I was saying before the game is basically every play that Eric makes is designed to extend the game a turn, which we've already seen one of those.
Yes.
Like, you don't have to,
and we will almost for sure see it again. Looks like they're having a fun time. You get a look at TSG there, looking on.
There are a lot of Channel Fireball shirts on that table right now.
There are indeed. Channel Fire shirts. All right, so these 2 creatures get tapped down again by the Feeling of Dread. Again, another play from Froelich that's looking to just extend this game as long as possible.
So I see Machias the Lunarch, I see 2 copies of Midnight Haunting, I see another Silverblade Paladin, and a Fiend Hunter.
Fiend Hunter, yeah.
Those little slivers of cards. But
is that a Cloistered Youth as well? What is that right in the front there?
It looks like a...
Hearts?
Looks like a Cloistered Youth.
6.
He didn't want us to look at it.
What did I think it was? Oh, it was is the Cloistered Youth and not a... Cloistered Youth and not a Fiend Hunter.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because the middle card is a Paladin.
Yeah.
It is a Cloistered Youth. All right, so down it comes. Now, this is that borderline, right, where Paul has now committed 3 of his cards to the board. And if he gets Terminus here, there's a pretty big setback.
Yes. This is also, a Temblor is very good here.
Yeah.
Paul smartly choosing not to play the Paladins in his hand this turn, going for an Unholy Fiend instead, because he'll be able to follow up should a Temblor happen with a second Paladin.
And even if it doesn't, he can do that and apply tons of pressure, like 12 points of damage.
Yeah.
Maybe even more, actually 12, 14, 16 points of damage.
And we're definitely going to see a Think Twice during the attack step.
And this is going to be a critical Think Twice. Does he have another one in his hand? He already did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he already flashed back his feeling of dread. I don't know if he's got another one in his
That
hand.
does not look like he does.
If he does, he's just going to obviously tap.
I only see one white card.
Here he
I
is. So
believe
we're
it's
going to pair it
Terminus.
up, and he is going to be representing. So that's 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 points of damage.
How much backstep?
It's always interesting to me to see black creatures in play when they're plains and mountains.
Isn't that funny? Okay, here it is. This is a huge one.
Yeah, he's in a couple options here. I mean, he could get Terminus, he could get a Feeling of Dread.
Okay, so he is going to get to
That's
take
not
another
awesome, but-
turn after this one, but there might not be too many more turns coming his way
3,
here.
6, 12, 14 damage, 16 damage here. He drops to
16
4.
it is. He drops to 4
That's
life.
well below the threshold we set.
Yes, 10 is a lot more than 4. See, so this was actually worth it for Paul to overextend, or not overextend, but to extend his board this far.
Yeah.
Because even if he does Tembler now, who cares?
Yeah.
He's not lethal.
And his backup card, he's got 2 copies of Midnight Haunting, an incredibly resilient way to get those last 4 points of damage through.
Things are looking very good for Paul Rietzl here. Looks like Eric just drew a Evolving Wilds. He's just going to crack it right now. He's
Yeah.
going to take one more land out of his deck. It gives him just slightly better percentage chance of hitting a
I
miracle when
understand
he
things
needs
will
to hit
get
it.
I mean, I'm sure.
Froelich would love a Terminus Miracle here because, I mean, he's got one in his hand. He would really like to avoid playing it because, I mean,
I don't know.
Hellrider kills him.
I'm sure they're
Kills
nothing, right?
So Eric does have time. Remember, he gets a whole other turn after this one, too.
True. Does he have anything for 4 mana that he can do right now? He's got the Think Twice that he can flash back.
He can
but
flash it back and try to hit a Terminus, but he's
it's
going to get
likely.
it. He's going to hit another land. He has another land in his hand that I think, and he's going to get to. Ooh, but he didn't leave wide open.
Wouldn't be able to do it. It's still his turn.
Oh yeah, right. So that was his second card anyway. Didn't
Yeah.
matter.
No, he's just digging. Like he
So untap, take my next turn, draw step.
that's not a Terminus.
That is a Thought Scour. So land Terminus, it looks like.
Yeah, don't have much of a choice.
And it looks like Rietzl saw the writing on the wall and just already started to.
Yeah.
Fighting land in a Hellrider.
It's a pretty sad Terminus, actually. Like I don't. I mean, Froelich's obviously happy to cast it because it means he's not dead.
It's
but
a
at the
turn
same
too late.
time,
I
like,
mean, that's what it was. It was
Yeah.
one. If he cast it one turn earlier, then he's at 20.
Didn't I say something about who goes first being important?
I think you might have mentioned that. All
mean, it's not exactly
as Rietzl. What does Rietzl do here? Like, if he has a Hellrider, the game's just over.
He passes the turn.
If he has a
play away.
Hellrider, he just kills it.
Yeah, but he doesn't. So.
It looks
Oh,
like he
does
has a
he?
Devil's Play.
Is that the Devil's Play?
I don't know if it's a Devil's Play or a Hellrider. If it's a Hellrider, then the game's over, and I think he would have just
I don't think he's slow rolling.
Double play you for 3.
Yeah, so it's Devil's Play for 3.
Devil's Play you for 3, bring you to 1.
Yep.
And now he's representing the
You
kill
do?
next turn with the Devil's Play. He also has
Hopefully not
a lot of backup plans that he can do here too.
Yeah.
Remember.
So this means that Eric now has to have a Dissipate, which I don't think he has an advantage. So we're done. Yep. So we're done here. All right. So Paul Rietzl finds the win on one huge hit. Now, one of the things that I was talking about before the match was the explosiveness
Yes.
of that Boros deck. He was at 20. He was at 20, and in one attack step,
Yep.
he took 16 damage, and he was at 4.
Exactly. I mean, that's why.
I just want to know if
10
you
is a
have,
reasonable like flashpoint for him because
I mean, I don't
Rietzel's deck
actually-
is capable of
I
just
had like good spells that were relevant.
blitzing mountains down.
Can I keep that
Quite an impressive attack phase there for Rietzl. He really kind of set that up and was able to capitalize in a huge way. Man,
Yeah.
16 in one hit.
That's just absolutely absurd. Like, his deck is capable of such amazing swings in life total. That's what makes it a good deck.
Forgot about that.
And I do really enjoy some of the tweaks that he made to make the deck a little bit more. I mean, he keep using the word resilient, but there isn't a better word to use
Man,
to
that was
describe it.
bad.
I mean, it gives it game where it didn't have game before,
Yeah.
and like really protects it from cards that were designed or at least incorporated into decks in order to deal with it.
And I mean, you saw how many options he had to win that game.
Yeah.
He's like,
Oh, you
sure,
could have
Devil's
PBO
Play, but I'll
too.
do it this way. But
Yeah.
we can do it any way you
Dude,
want,
lots of-
Eric. I can end step a Midnight Haunting and just hit you a couple times too if you'd rather do it that way.
Yeah.
It's sort of pick your poison.
Exactly.
But it's all riding on the back of that one huge attack step.
Yep. Which is a one huge attack step that would not have existed had Eric Froelich been on the play. So there's a lot to be said. I mean, he wants obviously, and this is exactly what we said. It's his deck is a fine deck without the miracles. But gosh, do the miracles just make it so much better?
And I think like even though
No idea what
probably
it is.
they've only got the one bonfire, but the bonfire is the one I think that when you see it played is the biggest swing.
That part I
But
cannot
I have to say that the
confirm or
most
deny.
impressive
Confirm
one
it,
that I've seen is the Entreat the Angels.
Yeah.
It just changes the board
Exactly
state
what happened.
so dramatically when they get to Miracle.
I mean, it's interesting. I actually don't know.
Man, I don't think I played that game very well in retrospect.
I'd almost rather
Yeah.
hit like in the middle stages of the game. I think Froelich would much rather just hit Terminus than hit Bonfire. Like, he'd love Bonfire late, but I mean, like getting to only spend 1 mana and use the rest of his mana to do cool stuff is just way more important.
Well, I think that
Yeah, I'm sure I was.
they bore that out. Your idea there, because there's really only one bonfire in the deck anyway,
Yeah.
and there's 4 Terminus.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty.
The Bonfire's got its place. It certainly does, and it's obviously very important, or it wouldn't be in the deck. But I do find it interesting that they've only got 1 period. Like there isn't even a single copy in the sideboard.
When I saw that they went into red, my assumption was that it was for bonfire. And it's not that it wasn't partially. That clearly wasn't the main reason.
No, it was definitely Temblor. Like Temblor is, it's a card that I was like watching pretty strongly in Barcelona, and like it's a really strong card against the format, and even like the non Boros decks. Like look at the Naya deck. Look at like any deck that's playing mountains and forests in it. I mean, if it works out so that the red-green beats deck makes it through to the finals, and Froelich squeaks past Rietzl makes it to the finals, like that Temple is just gonna,
tough 2 games to win.
it's gonna be like winning the lottery.
I'm gonna get
cast kills like everything.
What?
You got an update for us, Rashad?
Alright, well, it looks like Boros is up a game
free
in
drop,
both
free drop.
of our semifinal matches, because
Boros
Noah Kessel
is
is
really making a stamp here.
Yeah, that's one that I was not incredibly expecting, because I mean, red-green beats does really seem to be at least a slight favorite over the Boros deck in that matchup. And again, that's only game 1. Like game 2, he gets to bring in like a card that I probably mentioned and talked about too much. So I'm sorry if that's the case. It's just really good in the matchup, as we've seen on camera. Like Tree Redemption is just very strong. Very
Pretty
strong.
sweet.
This time you're getting a count.
Cast it.
Would you be mad?
Yeah.
What?
It's definitely one of those cards that, like, I never expected to really see it. I'm kind of dumb. So,
Definitely made you
but when as soon as someone,
make me mad.
put it into play against an aggressive deck that was actually against a red-green deck,
You have a miraculous
I'm like, oh wow, this does some
Actually,
awesome
wait a
things.
minute.
Yeah.
I would like them all in your hand. That's what I'm saying.
Turns out this actually has an activated ability that does things.
Yeah.
So it looks like we're going to be going to our hands here and see if we've got some keeps. We had both players keep last time.
Come on,
I like
sweet.
seeing that.
Yeah. Play some Magic, boys.
No lands out of the first 4, and then 2 of the last 3, or 3 of the last 3
like 3 of the last 3, yeah. He has a Temblor too, and he's on the play.
So it looks like he's kept because Rietzl's decided to look at his hand.
Yep. It's like 3-land Temblor. And I don't know if I saw Feeling of Dread, but I mean, those are the 4 cards that really ultimately matter in the beginning. Think twice and really make the decision easy. I think on those 5 cards alone, you could probably keep his hand.
Although, one thing I was talking to, it looks like Rietzl's going to have to mulligan this one. I could hear the audible groan all the way over here
I don't have a
when he
1
looks
drop.
at how
I have
good
a 1
he would
lander.
have
I'm using
ran.
my top 3 cards.
That order
Just shows the
Yeah.
perfect, yeah.
That's game, boys. I was meant to win this GP, and I just
That
So
kids.
sad, but
Yeah,
I
I
already
was
decided to
on the
mulligan,
spot.
so those are going.
I'm still considering scooping. I feel like you
that
earned it.
You should have kept the 1 lander,
A
no
lot of
1
people
drop.
say never look for that exact reason. I don't care. I like looking.
I don't look.
Worst
Oh, greedy
No, it doesn't
Rietzl,
bother me,
like,
but
land, no 1
like,
drop.
Probably wasn't even a
for
plan.
me, it's
That's
just
what
like
that's what a
mentality
good
thing where I'm
marked
like,
card is.
look, I've made this decision.
I mean, you get those
The reason I'm
champions
making
on
these
that
decisions
list.
are sound, and they have nothing to do with the top of my library. So why would I look, right?
Yeah.
Now, I know why. But
Just like, what's your
you
land
just want
at?
to see what
I just
Would be better for
Yeah,
I had it.
But and so like I don't think that there's anything actively wrong with
It was
it.
a mountain.
I tell people not to.
Oh yeah.
And the reason I tell people not to is because some people, you can look at that and have this feeling of like frustration, like I might have done something wrong.
Yeah.
Now you don't, you know better than that. But there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that don't, and it's a lesson that you have to kind of learn. And I say, you know what? Why don't you just never look? And I kind of put that out, and I figure I better do it myself. And I think never is strong. I'll look occasionally. I'll just be like, yeah, whatever, But for the most part,
Retard when they mow.
That's
discipline.
That's a fine piece of advice too. Like, I mean, if you are the type of person who is prone to emotional swings, if you tilt easily, seeing the top card of your deck, not something you want to do. It's going to be like, sometimes you look at it and it makes you feel really good about your decision, but does that really justify looking at it and getting upset when it's wrong?
No, and that's really the key, is that it actually doesn't affect that decision.
No.
Okay, so we're going to see a fresh 6 for Rietzl here.
Where it belongs, ready to attack.
He gives a little look.
Mulligan.
I can't tell if he's happy. He says mulligan.
Man. Again, probably not happy about that, but you know, he would be much more unhappy to. I mean, he's happy. You're always unhappy when you mulligan because you're unhappy that you have to go down a card.
Yeah.
You're never unhappy because you're forced to do anything other than that. It's like it's the loss of a card that hurts more than anything else. But
absolutely.
You know what? You're dealt the cards you're dealt, and you've got no choice. Give yourself the best chance to win.
I don't know. You can always just kind of feel that pressure.
Someone play
mulligan. You're just like, am I going to have enough resources to get through this game?
Yeah. But it does feel pretty sweet when you mulligan 4 and bash your opponent's face in.
You can ask Paul about that.
Who did he do it like that to?
Was it here? Was it Efro? I can't remember.
I don't remember either. I think it was, but no.
He just totally nut drew whoever it was.
Yeah, man. That was one of the matches.
The brimstone volley in his hand too. I found out after.
Yeah.
Still had all these brimstone volleys. All right, so go to 5 here for Rietzl. So this is definitely the borderline. Like, you can win from this point.
Yeah.
He says onward. All right, so typical opening from Efro. He doesn't have any 1-drops that he's going to play at this point, so he just tap land. And we see champion of the parish. Now this is part of the open that he really wants to see. Let's see if Efro has a way to deal with this champion. He does. He's got a Pillar of Flame, and it's going to exile the champion, and then he's just going to follow up with a land as they go.
Yeah, those single shot removal spells, 3 of them came in out of the sideboard.
Did you see what he just drew? Gather the townsfolk.
Oh, man.
So he actually had the 1-2 punch, at least, that I was talking about.
That's so funny.
There they are. Ugh.
What's up, other townfolk?
Missed opportunity. Thought scour, and so I would say that Efro probably is needing land drops here. I'm a little concerned about making sure he gets land drops.
I mean, we did know that he did only open with 3. It looks like he found himself did he find himself a 4th?
Rietzl is reading the human token.
He's just, looking at it.
It's just a human.
He wants to see if it looks anything like him. From this angle, it looks like it might just a little bit. Same as, let's go to the same barber at least. What if the 1/1 human token was actually
this is
pictures
the first
of Craig
time I think
Wesco?
we've seen him play Slayer Stronghold, isn't it?
Yes, actually it is.
Yeah, so this can represent 2 extra damage in a board state like this. He's deciding if he wants to attack. He does.
It's a really sweet way for him to make sure that he gets in for maximum value without having to commit too much to the board.
Yep, and that's exactly what he's going to do here. So we're going to hit for 4, although Efro might have something to say about it if he can hit a terminus. We see entreat the angels go down. And so it's 2, 3, 4 damage. So not a bad hit for just a couple of creatures here.
No, not at all. It's a 5-turn clock, and he doesn't have to play any of the cards in his hand.
We see a Gisela come off the top for Eric, which is definitely not the kind of card that is going to matter at this point in the game, but it's fine.
Yeah.
There's a terminus in Eric's hand. He only has currently 1 white source. I saw another island in his hand as well. There is a Pillar of Flame in his hand. He didn't want to use it on a token, though.
No.
I see a Micaeus in Rietzl's hand, but I think that, Rietzl, again, we've talked about his awareness of the threshold of 2 to 3 toughness, and I don't think he wanted to throw a Micaeus out there for just 2.
No.
He would rather just use his turn to use up his mana, get in an extra couple of damage, and continue.
He might do it again this turn.
I mean, it depends on if he's hitting a land here. That looks like a cavern.
Yeah, I mean, even if he plays it, I don't know if he necessarily, is Micaeus better at 4? Giving him an opportunity at 4 or 5? You get an opportunity to add a couple counters and still keep him alive.
I kind of like... Okay, that's probably true, yeah. I like Micaeus when you've got 2 other creatures, though. It creates a board state that Eric must deal with.
That's very true. The problem is if you put him into play with only 3 counters, you have 1 turn where you're supremely vulnerable because he becomes a 2/2.
How about this guy?
What's that guy do again?
That's a Hell Rider right
Oh,
there, buddy.
yeah.
So is he going to get to attack? I think he is. I don't see any feelings of dread in Yifro's hand.
Does Yifro have any?
I think he's got, I think, twice in his yard, maybe. So.
All right. So there's an opportunity for a one in
He's
his
got it in
hand.
his hand. Okay.
Usually hit.
Yeah, you got to do it now.
Oop.
From the hand is way better than from the yard because it gives him the ability to feeling of dread.
That is true. It looks like another Gisela off the top for him, if I saw that correctly.
That's a dead draw.
It's real bad. I mean, it's a good late game plan, but we are not in the late game. We are in the mid game at this point.
And Giselle is awesome. Like, when your opponent has the permanents he has in play right now.
So hit you for 8.
The block's combat damage.
My oh my.
Done.
I think Eric's below 13.
Yep.
Yeah, Eric's at 8.
That's, one turn clock.
So once again, we have found Paul Rietzl's been able to maneuver himself into a situation where he's put enough pressure on Eric that he needs to hit something to get him out of the situation.
This is a mulligan to 5, guys.
He contemplates his island and he takes, I mean, does he have anything here? We see a Pillar of Flame. He can take out one of the humans. That would extend the game a turn longer, as things said.
He also has the ability to flash back, I think, twice from his graveyard.
Yeah, so he's got some options here, but we got to remember the Slayer Strongholds out there, too, to make up 2 damage somewhere.
Very true.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I mean, it seems like the best play here is for him to probably just pass the turn and go for the thing twice. Like, it's dangerous because it's really just the out. That's
You
all it's
wouldn't
got.
pillar one of his guys?
No, not a chance.
Yeah, because the Slayer Stronghold just makes up for it.
Exactly. Like, you need to be able to draw into feel. I mean, he has Feeling of Dread, and I mean, I'm assuming he still has Feeling of Dread. Like,
in his deck, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would assume so. Paul Rietzl on the verge of victory.
I mean, it's certainly the ball is in his court or in the top
You can see him just agonizing here. Look at him.
Yeah.
Flag right there.
Does that look like an aggro player to you?
Yeah, he's aggro at everything,
No, you know what I mean?
himself
Like,
right now.
when I picture a player who likes to play aggressive deck, it's not a guy that deep in the tank. Look at him.
That's very true. But then again,
He's showing people how you should be playing aggressive decks.
yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier when we were talking about
we
how.
have some action here. It looks like there's a Think Twice happening.
What are we finding? Planes. So, good game.
And he is going to extend his hand in congratulations as he picks up his library. And Paul Rietzl advances to the finals.
Oh, man.
He still hasn't actually lost a match on the game.
No, he's just drawn once.
He drew once because he was a friend of his. And we're going to see right now if we can get
10 minutes.
The other match, which might still be going on, because that one was fairly quick.
It's a good matchup, but I don't think
Yeah,
it's
so the match was set to be a little bit longer, too.
Where are all the feelings of Dread?
Like to play.
fights against some of these cards at some point.
I do not know. They were certainly in there. And Eric begins de-sleeving his deck. I've had about enough of you.
Maybe these are cards that he borrowed. Sometimes on these new block formats, you know, the cards haven't been out that long. You got to kind of be a little resourceful about how to get your hands on the cards.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Although I see some Vessel of Endless Rest coming in.
Well, let's toss
It sounds like they're in the middle of their
in
game,
the middle of that game. So,
which means I don't think we're going to be able to get it over here.
no, it's entirely possible. I mean, if Loan comes back and wins this game 2, then we'll have game 3.
Oh, this is game 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
I really wish that we had access to the deck list for these players. I'd like to see. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter as much anymore since you know that Rietzl has advanced and not Froelich. This is all right. Well, there's our updated bracket. As you can see, Paul Rietzl had to move through a Jund player and then a Miracles player on his way to the finals. So he's managed to take on.
I don't think Paul Rietzl cares who he's playing anymore. Sits somebody down in front of him and he just runs him over.
You say anymore.